Hello, welcome to the Rise Up with Margarita show, and I'm Margarita. And every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, US time, I show up with this Rise Up with Margarita show to really serve those new leaders of light who are here to change the world, basically, right? And so every topic that we have is different every single week. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And today's topic is 5 signs it's time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. So what I mean by that is, in case someone's like, what does that mean? That is really about what you're holding back in your Lightworker power. It's not just whatever, let's say, because I think someone, I put out a question over the weekend in IG stories, and I said, what would you do if you were to wave your Lightworker freak flag? And so just to be clear, it's not about just what would you do in general in your life if you weren't held back, right? This is really particular to you being a light worker and what you are holding back on your power in order to, you know, not do, right? Like there's one thing that, we always get to open into. There can be many things that we get to open into, and it could either be for the first time or it could be for the next level of what that looks like for you, right? So waving your Lightworker freak flag, it's that thing that you are holding back from doing because you're afraid of judgment, because you're afraid of how it's going to look, because you're afraid of what people are going to think about you, right? And so this is really very much connected to your power as a light worker, connected very much to what you're creating in the world, right? Not just some random, like, what would you do if randomly didn't have any boundaries, right? It's not that question. It's more about what is your light worker purpose that you've been holding back on your power. And some may say you're a freak flag, right? Because it's this aspect of you that you feel is weird, that you may feel is unacceptable, that you are afraid to reveal. And I think, I did a post on it a couple days ago, in fact, about, it's time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. And it really inspired me to do today's live because a lot of people, light workers more specifically, are allowing themselves to be led by their fear of being judgment and being judged, right? And the fear of judgment. And even someone put it in the comments, something about it feels so super vulnerable to show up and to wave that freak flag, right? It really feels like literally like you're going either to the bathroom or you're changing in public, right? That's how someone had described it, because it's really that super intimate for a lot of light workers. And so today should really land home with you if that's something that resonates for you, or if you feel like you're being called, right, to really expand in a really more powerful way in your life. So welcome, welcome. Hey there, Nikki's here, and Bea, and Villasenora Michelle. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Leia's here as well, and so is DC Reed as well. Hello, everyone. And so I'm going to share with you, first of all, my story. I've mentioned it many times, so I'll keep it brief. But I'll share with you a little bit of how I started to wave my Lightworker freak flag and what that took for me. I'll also share with what happens when you don't embrace your unique, authentic expression. I'll then go into what it looks like when you do embrace your unique, authentic expression. And then I'll go into the 5 signs. It is time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. And then I'm going to give you 3 action steps, to be more specific. 3 action steps you can take right now to make that happen. So I am going to share a little bit first about my story, and just real brief, because I've been at this a while, so I'll just go into the highlight of how this showed up for me, feeling really super vulnerable about waving my freak flag. And at the time, and I think this was maybe 5 years ago now, because up until that point, I had already been doing some kind of performance art. If you have been following my lives for a while, I give you a little bit background of where, I've come from, and I even share some of that in my reels if you're looking at it, right? And so I do have some performance art background, and that has served me well, and that has kept me creative. And as you can see from a lot of my reels, I bring some of that in, into my reels sometimes. But when it came to, it was a whole different thing, going from, speaking to crowds. I would speak to colleges and universities based on independent media, because that's something that I had done before becoming a healer. And so I had like an underground independently published magazine, meaning I put it out myself, and it basically went across the globe. And so I got invited to some colleges to speak, make keynotes and things like that. So that was awesome. And it was a whole different animal when it came to my starseed lightworker purpose, because talking about that, like, I could talk about other things until the cows come home, right? But talking about my lightworker purpose, and especially coming out as a starseed at that time, was super, super vulnerable for me. So this happened like 5 years ago, and I was already kind of dabbling into, like, lives, particularly Facebook lives at the time. But then I was challenged to, you should actually speak about what you're working on now, to come out as a starseed and really talk about your powerful mission, because I was still at that time, like, really dealing with the whole, like, oh my God, who am I to be, this, major player in what I'm creating in the world, and what's happening in the world, right? And so I was still trying to deal with that. Um, and so, like, to then be challenged to then speak my truth and come out as a starseed and say, yes, I'm a Syrian starseed, and I'm a conduit between the Star Nation and Mother Gaia. I've been doing it for lifetimes, since prehistoric times, and just like really went into all of this stuff, right? And previous to that, it was just like I was talking about being an acupuncturist, I was talking about being a Reiki master teacher, I was talking about all those things that were more like acceptable at the time, to talk about when you're a light worker. But then, like, starting to talk about all this galactic stuff and all the downloads I've been getting, and that I actually do activations, that I actually activate people at the DNA level, and stuff that is not really a thing on, right now. And so it was a lot of pioneering that I got to do for myself, and so I did. And I liken that experience to poking a hot fork in my eye, because that's how eager I was to do this. Because I did not want to get on camera. I didn't want to talk about being a star seed and like having some random aunt like show up on it or something like that, or a childhood friend or an ex, or all the things that you are probably still working through, right? Of like, there's this big, big message that I've got, and but I'm afraid of what people might say or how they might judge me and all that stuff. So for me, I transcended that, and now, as you can see, like, I don't have issues with that anymore. But that came from practice, and the practice came from doing, and the doing came from just doing the damn thing, right? And the transition there for me was going from being selfish, because that's really what I was doing. I was being selfish, right? I was like making it about me and about my feelings, and about, I'm scared to do this. I'm not comfortable doing that. Me, I. And so it was all about me, right? When I switched that dialogue into how can I help? Who can I serve? And it really became about service, right? And that's what you get to do, either for the first time or at the next level now. And so I'm sharing that story with you because, just to let you know that, first of all, I didn't just pop out of the womb totally fine with talking about being a starseed and what that means. And, especially because my family, they're not very, let's just say that even though I already know that both of my parents are star seeds themselves, because it tends to, we tend to incarnate together, right? They totally forgot, right? They forgot. So, like, to them, I'm the weirdo. They love me though. They love me. But it's that thing, right? It's that fear of letting yourself be seen, letting yourself be heard for who you really are. And the reality is that if you are a light worker, and if you are here, you probably are, right? And you're feeling called forward to do more, be bigger, serve higher, right? Then that's something you get to work through, because this is super, super important right now. So here's what happens when you don't embrace your unique, authentic expression and wave your freak flag, right? This is what happens when you don't do that. So you'll have trouble being heard. So that's a given. Like, and you'll be having trouble being heard because no one's hearing you because you're not speaking your truth, right? So this, as you can see, it's already starting to overlap with a lot of throat chakra power stuff. But it's also a little different. There's a different flavor here. Number two, you'll have a lot of ideas, but no one knows what they are. Or you'll have a lot of amazing things to share with the world, but no one knows what they are, right? And if you're really a light worker, this is not about you keeping it and hoarding it for yourself. This is about you showing up in your radiance. And so that's super important to know. And then number three, since this does overlap, your throat chakra will be blocked, right? Because when you're holding back on your power, when you're holding back on your voice and who you really are in this world, your throat chakra is going to get involved. Because it'll be blocked from you not speaking up, right? From you silencing yourself, right? Number four, you may have trouble connecting with your heart. And so this happens a lot with light workers, is that a lot of light workers, they assume that because they are light workers, that they are connected with their heart. However, that's not always automatically the case. You got to work on it. You got to connect to it. You get to connect to your heart. And so, I'm not going to go into all the, details of what it looks like when you're connected with your heart and when you're not, because number one, I've already done that type of live. And number two, you get to feel into it, right? If you're not connected with your heart, you'll have trouble speaking from the heart, right? You'll have trouble knowing what your heart is telling you right now. Like if you were to ask your heart, like, okay, heart, how do we feel about XYZ situation right now, right? And if you're not hearing what your heart is telling you, then you're probably not connected with your heart, right? And because the heart is always speaking to you. Your heart is always speaking to you. Your intuition is always speaking to you. Your guides are always speaking to you. And whether or not you're actually open to hearing any of that is up to you, right? So if you have trouble connecting with your heart, then that's something where you will not be embracing your unique, authentic expression because you might not even know what that is at that moment, right? Either that or you're not allowing yourself to go deep into it. Number five, you are not in your integrity. And what I mean by that is that when you don't embrace your unique, authentic expression, when you don't allow your freak flag to fly, meaning that you're not holding back on your power, when you are holding back on your power and you aren't allowing your lightworker freak flag to fly, you aren't embracing your unique, authentic expression, which means you're out of integrity with yourself. And that's just the truth of it, right? When you're not being real, number one, with yourself, you are out of integrity. When you are not doing things that are aligned with who you are as a powerful being, a creator being in this world, you're out of integrity. So that's super, super important to know. Number six, what also happens when you don't embrace your unique, authentic expression, when you don't allow your freak flag to fly, you choose fear over service, which can look a couple different ways, meaning, first of all, you're not being visible. People don't know what you look like. Maybe your feed is full of other stuff, but never shows your face, right? Or maybe you show your face, but it's like super shaded. So no one can really see your face, even though you're technically having your face on video. It can look like that you're not even talking about your services. It can look like you're afraid to talk about your services, or maybe you don't have any services. Maybe you're just not offering your services. It can look like so many different things, right? But usually choosing fear over service means making it about you, making it about, wow, I feel strange. I feel uncomfortable. I feel afraid. I feel this, right? And when you make it about you, you're actually being selfish, right? And when you're choosing service, even if you're afraid, because that's possible, right? I do it all the time, where you choose service no matter what, because you know it's the right thing to do, because you know it's aligned, even though it scares the shit out of you. And if it doesn't scare the shit out of you, then you're doing it wrong, right? And you've heard me say that many times before. So choosing fear over service is one of those indications that you are not embracing your unique, authentic expression. And number 7, you are more concerned about your comfort and ego than helping people. So this is related to the previous point, that you will be more concerned about, are you comfortable? Are you feeling settled? Are you feeling good and right with the world? Are you feeling happy? And all these criteria before you serve? Or do you just get yourself right and you serve, right? So that's super, super important to discern that there's a difference between being in your comfort and ego and also helping people. Number 8, your ideal clients don't know you exist. So if you're a light worker, you probably have some amazing transformative services, right? Like, I mean, you probably do, right? And so I see the surge of hearts. Thank you for that, right? And that also just confirms that that's a yes, right? You are here. If you know you're here to change the world, and you're not doing the actions to change the world, then you are holding back, right? And if your ideal clients, those who could most benefit from your amazing transformative services, then your clients won't know you exist. And if your clients don't know you exist, you're not making the impact, right? If you're not actually helping people, you're not actually making impact as a light worker, right? Because you can do all kinds of things with helping, the world and the matrix and, the grid work and all this stuff. I do that too every day, in fact, right? Like I connect with Gaia every day. I'm always working on the grid work, and the what's going on the planet. And you can do that from the comfort of your own home. Yes, sure, right? But are you actually taking action with doing your service, like helping others, helping humanity? Are you doing that, right? And yes, you could say indirectly, yes, by staying in your privacy of your home and working on some grids and stuff, you are helping humanity. Yes, sure. But if you are committed to making impact as a leader of the new earth, then you're actually stepping it up, which means you're actually going out and you're helping people. And that's your priority, right? So those are the 8 ways, the 8 things that happen when you don't really wave your freak flag, when you don't embrace your unique, authentic expression. And now I'm going to share with you what it does look like when you embrace your unique, authentic expression, when you do wave your Lightworker freak flag, right? Number 1, you speak your authentic truth without holding back. That means you don't have a filter. Let me rephrase that. You do have the filter of alignment, right? Of what is aligned for you, and you're speaking from that heart-centered, aligned place. And you're not holding back on the message. Because when you are a light worker who is here on mission and who's here to do amazing things and change the world, you've got a message, and that message will not always land well with everyone in the world, right? Some people may be like, wow, you're a conspiracy theorist. Wow, you are, full of your own ego, or wow, you are deluded, or, whatever, insert in the blank here, right? And just as a reminder, if you have any questions about this topic, I'm going to answer them towards the end of this episode. So make sure you hold on to that. So make sure you do that. Okay, just like scrolling here. All right. So you speak your authentic truth without holding back. So whatever you have to say, even if you know it might rock the boat, you say it, right? Even if, listen, there have been so many times that I have posted stuff and, I've been like, wow, how do I move through this? Because this is something that I know that might trigger some people, right? Because light workers, to be honest, they get highly triggered, especially when they don't have their stuff healed, right? When they're still functioning from trauma that's unhealed and they're still in this highly triggered state. um, they're really not coming from that place of being in their own alignment, right? And they may not always know what's truly going on in the world if they're coming from that place, right? And if they still have a lot of like a tremendous amount of healing to do, right? Like there's still what's the word, vulnerable to a lot of this manipulation that's going on in the world, which is why I always talk about doing your inner work, clearing out all this human shit, right? And being in the human embodiment who's grounded in your being versus this starseed who's just trying to escape from planet Earth all the time, right? Because if that's your game, then there's work for you to do, right? So that's why it's important for you to not hold back on speaking your truth, and why, even though I know that something may hit a nerve, that is exactly the reason why I need to make that post, right? And sometimes people get triggered. And the reality is that here's the secret to that, is that when you do the work to clear all of your fears, right? To heal your fears, not like pretend they're not there. I'm talking about dealing with them. I'm talking about sitting with them, seeing the wisdom in them, and healing all of that. And you're coming from a place where you're grounded and you are in a place of service. You know, whatever people say doesn't really actually matter. It really just doesn't. Like if they've got judgment about, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that, or, they have opinions, or maybe they even have opinions about what you look like. I get that a lot. And the honest truth here is that none of that is my job, right? Other people's reactions to me is not my responsibility. And that's something that's like basically empath 101, right? You don't take on other people's shit. And so I'm already there, right? And that's something that I help my clients, go deeper on, because they've already started to embrace that for themselves. But the reality is that if you are still worried about what other people think, you are going to hold back on your truth, guaranteed. If you're still worried about that ex, if you're still worried about that auntie who might pop into your life, look, it's happened to me, right? Like my aunt from like on the other side of the globe, she's like, oh, hey, in the middle of a live where I'm talking about being a light worker and probably, how to rise up as a light worker, right? And I'm like, hey, and which was awesome because it's, I love my aunts, right? But, that happened. I'm still here. I'm still alive, right? So if you are still worried about that ex or that auntie or that childhood friend or whomever, or even a rando stranger and what they're going to say, then you need to shift your priorities, right? That's something you get to do. And you get to make that shift in consciousness from fear into service, right? And that is the game changer. That said, when you embrace your unique, authentic expression and you truly let your freak flag fly, really, and if you really get honest with yourself, if you haven't done that yet, that's something to look at, right? It's something to get curious about. And even if you feel you have, get curious about, am I still holding back somewhere, right? Because when you're really in the embodiment of your power, you are always committed to your expansion. You're always curious about, wow, how can I upgrade my perception right now? My way of thinking, how I'm approaching this. Am I aligned right now, right? Those are the questions you should be asking yourself. Number 2, you mean what you say and you say what you mean when you are embracing your unique, authentic expression. So that's number 2. You mean what you say. You don't say something and mean something else, and you say what you mean. So you're going to actually say what your message is. You're going to actually share, here's the download I'm receiving from Christ consciousness, right? And here is what I am sharing it, with you. This is the message, right? And you're sharing it, even if, like, yeah, maybe some rando person might have a question, a concern, or get triggered by it or whatever, but you actually say what is up, right? You don't hold back. Number 3, speaking of which, you are in your integrity. When you are embracing your unique, authentic expression, when you're waving that freak flag and you're really being honest with yourself, you are in integrity. because being in integrity means that you are acting from a place of alignment within yourself, and you are not veering from what is out of alignment with you, because then you would be out of integrity, right? So when you are in integrity and you are aligned and connected to your purpose, you will be operating from that place of integrity. So that's number 3. Number 4, you are connected with your heart, meaning that you are connected with your heart. When your heart's talking to you, you're like, okay, done, right? Like you don't even question it. You don't question it anymore. You get some intel from your heart. Your heart says, we need to do this, done, right? And you immediately take action. That's what empowered light workers do, right? You just take in the download and not just like listen and be like, oh, that was a nice message, right? You actually take action on that message. So super, super important. You are connected with your heart, and every single time you connect with your heart, get the download, and take action on what that intel was about, you strengthen that connection with your heart. And then your heart's like, oh, awesome, she's listening. So like download, 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 right? And then it just like gets stronger. That's just how it works. So that's number 4, you're connected with your heart. Number 5, what you say lands with other people. So you create your community and your ideal lightworker clients find you. So just as I said, when you aren't waving your lightworker freak flag, when you aren't, being in the fullness of your power and the fullness of your authentic expression, your ideal clients won't find you because they won't know you exist, right? But when you are embracing your unique authentic expression, you are being really in your authenticness, you will create community. You will create aligned community, should I say, right? Because you can always create any community, right? But when you're a light worker and you've got an important purpose in this world, what's most important is having an aligned community. Not just like some randos, who just like you, or they like, your earrings or whatever, right? Or your hair or how you look that day, right? Like these are people who are like, oh my God, preach, like they are your people, right? So it will land with your community. You will create aligned community. Your ideal clients will find you, and they'll get you, right? They will just get you because you are really in connection with yourself and in alignment with yourself. So that was number 5. Then number 6 is your throat chakra power will be activated because you will not be coming from that place of silence, coming from that place of holding back or suppressing or oppressing your own voice, right? Because it's one thing to have that happen in either a past life or when you're a child. And it's another thing when you're like a grown up and you're still functioning from like archaic paradigms, right? And so it's your job to get into the new paradigm for you. So super important. And when you are in that more full expression that is authentic, that is truly unique to you, meaning you allow some of your idiosyncrasies to show up, right? Like, I mean, I've got a bunch if you haven't noticed, like, I mean, it's in the way I talk, it's in the way like I express myself. It's like, I mean, sometimes I swear. I mean, it's just like whatever, this is me. And if people don't like me, they leave, right? Which I'm good with. And in actuality, I embrace, I'm glad about that, right? So it's like, yes, please make room for more of my people, make more room for my people, because that's who I'm here to serve. So so number 6, your throat chakra power will be activated when you're in your unique authentic expression. Number 7, you embrace service over fear. So as I was speaking before about when you're not embracing your unique authentic expression, you may choose fear over service. When you do choose your unique authentic expression, you are actually choosing and embracing service over fear. So it doesn't mean that you don't have any fear, right? Like, I mean, being fearless, like that'd be awesome, right? But like, I mean, the reality is that there's always something under there. There's always something going on, and it's up to you to deal with that, right? And to address it and sit with it and find the wisdom there, right? And then when you do, go to the next level of what that means for you, right? Maybe it's just a little tweak. But when you're in your power as a light worker, that's something where even when the fears come in, You recognize them for what they are. You make the tweaks immediately to make whatever shift you need to be making, right? To embrace, well, okay, what does service look like in this moment? I get what my fear is saying. I get my fear is telling me that this would be life-threatening for me to like be vulnerable, on social media or whatever, right? But what is aligned right now? What would it look like for me to be in service in this moment? Who could I serve right now? Right? And as long as you can just serve one person and have that be your goal, and then if you serve that one person, awesome, right? Like that's the bee's knees here. So, and number 8, what it looks like when you embrace your unique, authentic expression is that you help your clients. You have clients and you help your clients, right? Because when you're not embracing your unique, authentic expression, your ideal clients can't find you. Your community, your people, they don't know who you are, or they might know who you really are. But when you are embracing your authentic, unique way of expression and you're waving your freak flag, your people know who you are. They're like, oh, there she is. That's my person, right? And you'll get that feedback even in your comments, right? Because I do all the time. You might even notice it yourself when you're in my comments section, right? Some people will say, you are my people, right? Or they'll be like, this resonates for me tremendously, or something like that, right? When you're getting that kind of feedback, that's all confirmation for you that like, okay, I'm I'm aligned here, right? Because my people are connecting with what I'm sharing. And not only that, make sure that you're also making your offers to them. Make sure that you're saying, hey, I do XYZ and here's how I can help you. And that's why you hear me say that, with each live, right? And there's a way to share about how you can be in service without being sleazy, because that's a whole other live that I've addressed already. And, that I'll probably address really soon again, because it's like a super juicy topic for a lot of light workers, is the whole thing with money and abundance and, selling and it's gross and all this other stuff, right? And it doesn't have to be. When you are coming from fear, you will come off as like, here's my new car, buy my new car. Like that's how you're going to come off, right? But when you are in integrity with yourself and in unique expression with yourself, it won't come off as, would you like to buy a car? It'll come off as, here's how I can help you, right? Like, I want to help you. Let me help you, right? I've been where you are. Here's how I can help you, right? And when you're doing that, that is service, because you are in the alignment of who can I help? Who needs to hear this right now? And even if I feel weird about talking about myself in such and such a way, like, how can I help someone right now? Right? So that's really how that looks. And then here's the 5 signs. It's time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. Number 1, you're feeling the deep calling within you to help others in a way that would require you to get out of your comfort zone. So, favorite words, I'm sure, that you're hearing from me: getting out of your comfort zone, right? But that is what it takes. If you are feeling called to help others in a higher way, from a higher place of service that maybe you haven't tried yet, or maybe you're scared to try, that's the feeling. That's one of those signs. That's in fact the number 1 sign. Number 2, you have an important message of light for the world. Going back to your light worker purpose, what specific transformation you're here to provide in the world. And when I say your purpose as a light worker, I don't mean what's your identification, which is healer or yoga instructor or Reiki master teacher, right? That's an identification. That's not your powerful transformation you're providing in the world. And it's not to help people, right? Because all light workers are here to help people. What it would really be is your specific transformation you provide humanity. So that could be like, like from what I would share as an example from mine, right? Is, I help those new earth leaders step into their power, activate light and empowerment for the planet, and build epic businesses through power activation and mentorship, right? So it's not like, oh, what does she do? Right? Like I just told you, right? I just told you what I do, who I serve, how I help them, the results they get, right? In that one little snippet thing. And that's something that I also help my clients to do, is get more specific once they know their purpose, right? Because those who work with me already are connected with their purpose. And I help them go deeper and really highly serve and do it with more ease versus, pedal to the metal and I got to work really hard and put a lot of elbow grease, right? Because that's so old paradigm. So we get to create from the new paradigm, which is all about ease and being in your flow and expansion and a full-on abundance. So knowing that you have a powerful Lightworker purpose, that means you also have an important message of light for humanity. And you are aware of that, and you're feeling called to share that message. And if you're already sharing a message, maybe it's a higher message. Maybe it's a higher channeled message. Maybe it's something that is the next level of your purpose, right? So that's another sign. Number 3, another sign is you're getting opportunities to speak your truth. So maybe you got an invitation to speak on someone's podcast, be interviewed on someone's podcast. Maybe you got an invitation to speak somewhere local or online, or someone's offering you a really awesome deal on I don't know, some kind of package that will help you create better images on social media or better videos, right? Like maybe you get a special deal on like one of these video apps that you got to pay for, right? And it's like, wow, how coincidental. I'm about to open up into my power in a bigger way, and suddenly there's this awesome deal that is now available to me, right? That's another sign. Opportunities will just pop up when you are ready to wave your freak flag, right? And again, the whole thing about being ready to do anything, that's on you. It's not the divine timing of, oh, I'll just sit here and suddenly it will land in my lap just out of divine prominence or providence, right? That's the word I wanted to say. It happens because you decided it is your time. It happens because you're like, okay, I've decided it's my time, and I'm also taking action on that divine timeline, right? And then things start to open up, right? So just giving that caveat there. Number 4, you feel like you're holding back or not being authentic with what you're saying. So you may come into an awareness around, what I just shared, I don't know, I could have said it a different way, or it feels like that's not aligned anymore for me, or maybe it feels a little outdated. Maybe I'm being called to speak into this in a higher way, So if you're noticing you're having some awareness of like, wow, I was really holding back in that video. I was really holding back in what I'm offering my clients, right? I'm really holding back somewhere where I'm not allowing my unique expression to show up in the world. And so that is also a sign. And then number 5, another sign that it's time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. You're on this live or replay, however you're seeing this right now, right? So, just as a reminder, I'm not going to be answering questions until the end because I want to make sure that I really serve you on these points and stay on focus with this. Okay. And someone's saying, please save this live. It's priceless. Thank you. And as always, it will be in the video section in Instagram as well as on Facebook. So you can see it once it's over. It'll be downloaded, uploaded, however it's loaded. It's going to be up there, right? So those are the 5 signs. It's time for you to wave your Lightworker freak flag. And now 3 steps you can take right now to make that happen. So these are some action steps if you choose to do them. It's totally up to you, because you ain't going to be seeing me like knocking on your door like tonight saying, hey, did you do that challenge? That's up to you, right? That's called taking responsibility for what you decide on. So step number 1 is recognize the signs you are getting that it's time to be in the uniqueness of who you are. So that's like your spidey senses are tingling and you're like, oh, okay, I'm suddenly aware that I need to be a little bit more authentic. I'm a little bit more aware that I've been holding back, that I'm being called forward, that, something about what I have been sharing up until this point is no longer valid, right? So you might, for instance, you might want to talk about the wisdom only you can share, right? So you might want to get clear into, okay, like, so all light workers want to help people, all light workers want to heal people and help the world, right? But what is the specific wisdom that only you can share? And this is very much connected to your purpose, which is why it's super important to be connected to your purpose. And that's not something that, like my clients come in already knowing their purpose. I'll just put it that way, right? That said, resentment you may have towards people who are doing what you know you're being called to do might pop up, right? That's also part of the awareness. And that's good, because if you're noticing you're having resentment towards others, right? And you're noticing that you're resentful, that's awesome. And the reason why is because when you are noticing an awareness that you are having certain emotions, you can either A, work on it, or B, not work on it, right? And if you don't work on it, you're going to get more of the same. And you're just going to be cycling in this stuck cycle, right? If you decide to do something about it, then that's when the expansion happens. And resentment of what someone else is doing is really just an indication that, hey, if they can do it, so can I, right? It's something that you're being shown that it's already an amazing, successful thing that you get to share with the world, and that you get to open up into that if you choose to do so. Another thing to note here in regards to recognizing these signs is that it is becoming spiritually, energetically, or physically painful to not speak your truth. That literally it pains you to not speak your truth. That is also an awareness. So if you notice that you're holding back and then suddenly you're like getting throat chakra issues, or like your thyroid starts acting up, or suddenly you get hoarse, or, there's a blockage, or you get laryngitis suddenly, or, something else happens, right? Like a physical thing might happen. Or energetically or spiritually, you just feel like, ugh, like, oh, that was terrible. Like, I don't feel good about that at all, right? If you notice that, and it actually pains you on some level of your being to hold back, that's also another sign that you get to recognize about that. And then another thing about recognizing the signs is you get inspired by other people authentically expressing themselves in their own unique way. And that's something that I get often, right? Whether it be in my comments or my DMs, like people saying, hey, I'm really loving how you're expressing yourself, or I totally resonate with what you're sharing, or I'm inspired by your work, or something like that, right? Those are all signs that you get to do the same thing, right? Like you get to do it in your own way, in your own aligned way, to show up in ways that is super powerful. So, and then step 3, to the steps you can take right now to make this happen, is commit to waving your Lightworker freak flag and embracing your unique, authentic expression. And it doesn't have to be like, I need to be like, the end all be all tomorrow, right? Like, I mean, it gets to be bites. It gets to be baby steps. It gets to be small actions that then accumulate into a body of work, right? Because if you are like, one of the things that light workers often are, especially when they're first starting in their journey, or where they're not yet where they want to be, is they get super impatient. They kind of wanted like their epiphanies yesterday. They wanted all their epiphanies, all their downloads, all their, skies breaking open, angels like playing harps and stuff in the sky. They want that yesterday, right? And the reality is sometimes things take time, but in terms of your commitment, that happens when you choose it, right? Commitment does not give room for you to be like, oh, I don't know, I don't feel like it. Maybe today I don't feel like it. Maybe I'm having a hard day, right? Commitment, commitment is commitment. It means that even if you're having a shitty day, that you still show up in commitment. And that could look like something different for everybody, right? So that's how you do that, is you make a commitment to waving your Lightworker freak flag and embracing your unique, authentic expression. And, a first start could be like, okay, I am deciding today that I'm committed to being in my unique, authentic expression, to waving my freak flag no matter how scary it is, right? And then later that day, making a post that reflects that, right? So that's an example. It may look different for you. And then the third step is that if you're done lone wolfing, stepping into your throat chakra power, and you're a light worker who's connected to your purpose, committed to what you're creating in the world and what's next for you, you can do deeper work with me, right? Like that's also another step. And if you don't resonate with me and you resonate with someone else, awesome. But invest in yourself, right? Invest in your next steps and invest in your acceleration and what you're creating in the world. Because I do, right? Like, and those who are really stepping up and who are committed to what they're creating in the world, they invest in that for themselves. It's like a no-brainer. It's like a given, to be honest. Like high performing light workers, they invest in themselves, especially at levels that are challenging to them. And I can definitely vouch for that in terms of my own experience, right? Is that you get what you pay for, right? And that's the reality, some people like to shop around, and you can definitely do that. But if you want to actually get results, and you are committed and you want what you want, then, my invitation to you is to book a call with one of my coaches, my coach, Jennifer. She's my empowerment coach, and I invite you to click on the link in my bio and Instagram to book your one-on-one call with her. It's free, and she's awesome, super heart-centered, and she's ready to serve. She's ready to serve it up. Like, you're going to feel her energy right away. She's awesome. And she will help you get really centered around, okay, what support do you need? How can we help? How can we serve you right now, right? And so she'll talk with you about that, and you can have a beautiful heart-centered discussion around that. So that is a choice that you get to do if that's something that's important to you. And now I'm going to open it up into questions, and I'm gonna, I'm not gonna answer a shitload because we're kind of getting close to time. And I want to value your time as well. So I will be taking some of these questions that are going to really serve more people, right? So I'm going to be looking for those kinds of questions. So go ahead and type them in here. Okay, so here's a question. What do you do with those who can't let go of the idea of normal, right? Well, here's the thing. If you are, like, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know if you're referring to yourself or other people, or you're afraid of other people's judgments or what. So you'll need to be a little more specific about your question. But what I'm gathering from this is that you can't let go of the idea of things needing to look normal, or you needing to look normal, which is a rather common lightworker concern, especially when you're still opening up into your power. And what I will say to that is this: no one will embrace you not being normal, right? Because the reality is that when you're really in the essence of your energy and you're really working with it and you're working that light, that's actually normal. So I don't know what your definition of normal is. If you're talking about it's not with the old matrix, it's not what everyone believes, then you get to ask yourself a question of, do you want to dictate your life based on what other people think you can do and what you're capable of? Or do you want to live your life based on what you are actually capable of? Because you step up for yourself. Because here's the thing, is that if you're worried about other people not seeing you as normal, the reality is you're going to actually get people who validate that concern. you're going to get people who are like, oh my God, you're so weird or whatever, right? And granted, like as you get more and more visible, you will get more seen by all different kinds of people. And then you'll get all different kinds of comments, and some of them will be those haters, right? And so, that's something that I've experienced, right? But when you're first starting out and you are more concerned about other people seeing you as normal versus stepping up, first of all, you're making it about you. So recognize that. And then make a decision. Do you want to continue making it about you, or do you want to actually help somebody? Because you can't have both. So, if you want to like be looked at as normal, like first of all, if you're trying to be normal or whatever normal means anymore, right? Oh, like maybe I'll just put it this way. If you'd rather be more like the sheep, right? You can do that. That is a choice. And that would be a sovereign choice, because that is a choice that you made about how you want to approach things, right? However, if you want to be a lion, if you want to show up in the world, and if you want to truly wave your freak flag, then you get to make a decision about you embracing yourself. Because if you're more concerned about people like not seeing you as normal or whatever, not only are they going to reflect that to you, but you're also going to be concerned of like, I'm not accepting myself, right? I'm not embracing my freak flag. I'm not embracing that I do all these amazing things, right? You are not embracing yourself. And so if you don't embrace yourself, other people won't as well. You are dictating how people get to treat you by how much you treat yourself. So if you are not loving yourself up, and if you are not accepting and embracing all of who you are not waving your freak flag, right? That's not waving your freak flag. If you are, not really embracing all of it. So when you are embracing your freak flag, then it's becoming more of I embrace all of who I am. I embrace the fact that I'm this channel for so-and-so or such and such, or, that I do this and I do that. And it won't matter as much about what other people think, because really it doesn't matter. You want it to matter to your ideal clients, sure. But if you're worried about other people and people who are not your ideal clients, or random strangers who have an opinion, there are tons of that, So that's where you get to explore first is, am I embracing myself? Am I embracing all who I am? Am I embracing my freak flag, right? Do that first. Because if you don't embrace yourself, other people will feel that, even if they're not energetically savvy. Other people will pick that up and be like, oh, she doesn't, they won't take you seriously because you won't take yourself seriously. That's kind of the bottom line there. So I hope that helped. Okay, taking a look at some of these questions. All right. Okay, someone's asking, family's values and beliefs overweight me, or is it heavy on you? Is that what you're saying? While I'm working on myself, it controls me as it's deep rooted. How to overcome it? So it's really just basically the same question as what I've shared, as what I answered just now, right? Is that this is about you making a decision, because right now you're flip-flopping, right? You're flip-flopping of, oh, I want to appease my parents and my family, and I want them to like me and and love me. And the reality is that, if they really do love you, they're going to love you whether or not they think you're a weirdo and a whack job, right? They're still going to love you, right? Even if that's their perception, right? And if they don't, they may not, right? But I mean, my question to you is, are you going to really not show up on your light worker purpose because someone may have an opinion? Because everyone's going to have an opinion, whether it be families, whether it be exes that come out of the woodwork, whether it be childhood friends, right? All of that has happened to me, and I'm still alive, right? And you just keep going, right? And it all begins first by making a choice. Because if you're still flip-flopping like you are now, right? About like, oh, I don't know, I want to please my parents, I want to please my family, but then I also want to do this thing. It's like, what is aligned? What is aligned for you, right? And remember that being in alignment means you're not operating from a place of fear. It means you're truly connected with your heart, with your higher self. And if you're not with any of that, that's the work, right? Because if you're not connected with your heart and you outsource your power, and your power comes from your family, and then if your family approves of you, then you'll do something, then you'll show up as a light worker, then that's the work, right? Because it should not actually matter whether or not you are approved by an outside source, whether it be family or anyone else, or the government or anyone else, right? You should choose to wave your Lightworker freak flag anyway. Anyway. So I know this is kind of like some tough love, but it's the reality, right? Like, I mean, the truth is, it's that is what happens, is that when you're wavering and you're waffling and you're not really committing to anything, you're actually committing to your fear. And so if you notice that you're committing to your fear, then you get to make a choice about that. Do you want to continue doing that? Or do you want to make a different choice? And that is up to you. Okay. How do you respond to these people or just ignore them? So when you say these people, what do you mean? Okay. So I'm just going to wait for that clarification on that, because these people could be anyone. I don't know who you're talking to specifically, so I just want to make sure I answer your question more deeply. Someone's saying, I'm still connected to my hearts right now, I believe it says. It's difficult to do my regular job, which is against my nature. So I'm not sure what you're like. I mean, is that a question? Not sure. Okay, so if you're saying it's difficult for you to do your regular day job because you're connected with your heart, then that's something to bring into your awareness, right? If you're actually bringing this up as like, it's difficult to do my regular day job now that I'm connected with my heart, what does that say? What does that tell you, right? And that's about step one. Recognize the signs that you are getting, that it's time to be in the uniqueness of who you are. And if you're noticing that your regular day job is not aligned with that, or it's no longer aligned, should I say, because at one point maybe it was aligned, but maybe you're starting to realize it's no longer aligned. Get curious about that and start going deeper into that inner work. Mahalo. Okay, you're welcome. Good to see you here. Okay. Oh, this is so good. All right, so that same person says, thank you, I haven't committed. I have not committed, should I say, because I have no certifications or proof, really, but my knowing is proof. This is a big one for light workers. A lot of light workers saying, oh, I can't show up because I'm not legit, right? And I've given you that story, where, well, actually, I'm going to not share that story because that's more relevant to a different topic. But what I will say is that a lot of light workers feel like they need to have tons of certifications to be like, see, look at this list. Now I am legit. And now you can take me seriously, right? It's really all about so you can take me seriously. What that's really about is, are you taking yourself seriously? Again, you are informing others how to behave with you, right? So you can not have tons of certifications, and still serve super highly, right? Like if you've got like, a certification in Reiki, even if you're not like a Reiki master teacher level yet or anything, like that's still a certification. And like, even if it's just level 1, that's a certification. Even if you don't have any certifications, why are you being called? Get back into your why. And like, this is my proof, right? Like if it's something that you're generationally sharing with the world, like if it's something handed down to you through your lineage, and that's your information, then yeah, that makes sense why you don't have a certification in your family's lineage, right? But what it really, really, really comes down to is, are you accepting yourself? Are you taking yourself seriously? And if you are, and you're approaching this from a place of alignment, it's a lot less about what certifications do you not have and more about, where am I not believing in myself? Where am I questioning my capabilities? So, you know, so for instance, that mama, like for instance, I've seen this before where I've seen like moms who, maybe they didn't go to college or they didn't have any certifications or anything like that, but they've had like 30 years of being a mom, and maybe they've gotten like a really amazing way of putting their child to sleep or something, right? Like, I mean, that comes from deep experience, right? And that would be something that then she could be like, hey, here, I know how this works. I can save you the heartache and the pain and the suffering and the lone wolfing, trying whatever out, right? And I've got a method here. Here it is. So in that case, she did not need certifications. She just needs to show up and take ownership of her knowledge and her wisdom. Okay, and I'm probably going to take one more question. Okay. Just looking here. Okay. Okay, so that person who asked that question previously, she got more specific and she says, how do you respectfully respond to those who judge you? You could just not. You don't have to respond. You don't have to even like pay attention to them, right? Sometimes I do that like with some of the hater comments, right? Like it was really interesting. I got this one comment from someone who doesn't even follow me, but she got super triggered by something I shared about stepping into your power. I don't even know what the topic was anymore. And she was just like, you are so full of negative energy. You are the one who brings negative energy into the world and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, damn, girl, I actually laughed because it was just so out there. But like, just as an example, I'm sharing this with you because I just ignored her. Like, I kept her on my comment section. Like, I mean, Instagram decided to hide, but as you can always do when you see a hidden comment, you can unhide it and look at it. So it's not like I hid it. Like, I actually didn't do anything. So that's one way you could do that, is when someone judges you, you can just not respond. Like, sometimes they're energy siphoners. Sometimes they're energy vampires that feed on your fear and your energy that you put into even a comment, right? Like, I mean, I forgot who that was. I think Carlson, I forgot his first name, but he had dealt with this, and he was actually talking about when you respond to hater comments, that it takes energy to respond to that comment, even if it's a little bit, and you're actually feeding that energy of whomever that person is or whatever that is, right? Who's like throwing you lots of shade. So you can just not respond. I mean, I do that often. Or if it's on social media, if it's super nasty, you can just block them. Report them and block them and delete the thing. It's your profile. And so that's something you get to also embrace, is that no one has the power over you unless you give it to them, right? Like, no one, like even random strangers, even if it's your auntie or your ex or someone from childhood who like responds to something, they don't like what you're sharing, then you can be like, thanks for your perspective. I've done that too, right? Like, I just say, oh, thank you for your perspective. And I might even leave it at that, or I might clarify something for them if it's a teachable moment, and then leave it up there, right? Or you can just, like I said, if they're super nasty, you can just report and block. And at the bottom line is, it's your call. It's your profile. It's your call. And if this is happening in real life, you can excuse yourself. or you can say something else, right? Like, because I love you, I'm not going to be getting into a discussion on this topic at this time. End of story. You don't have to entertain shit. You're not responsible for anyone's feelings as an empath, right? You can share your truth, and if people have like an impulsive triggered reaction by it, that's on them, not on you. So I hope that helped you. Okay. And I'm going to start wrapping it up now because we're already over time and I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you for being here. If you were inspired by what I was sharing with you today about waving your Lightworker freak flag and you're ready to do that and you are already connected with your purpose and you are either a spiritually conscious entrepreneur who's ready to up level, or you're ready to really blast open as a spiritually conscious entrepreneur, really help others, help transform the world, and you're ready for those next steps and committed, I invite you to hop on a call with my empowerment coach, Jennifer. The link is in my bio. Other than that, I hope this greatly, deeply inspired you. And someone's saying, Lord, I needed this. Blast open from the jump. Yep, that's how I do. That's how I do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here and be with me right now, and for engaging with all your amazing comments, questions. And even if I didn't get to them, just know that it's super important for you to engage with your powerful path, meaning get curious. Question why you do certain things. Get curious about why is that your normal reaction? Is that something that is still aligned for you? Maybe it's not anymore, right? And you are being called forward. You're here based on this topic, so you are being called forward to raise your wave and raise your Lightworker freak flag, right? Meaning, don't hold back from your power. Be uniquely you. And with that, have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful rest of the week. Much love, light, and power to you.